And first thing we need to do is do a call to order. Jane, can you do a roll call for both of us, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Austin?
Present.
Ms. McGinnis?
Here.
Ms. Nally?
Here.
Ms. Price?
Here.
Mr. Prine?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Lamb?
Here.
Ms. Nelson?
Here.
Ms. Ott?
Here.
Mr. Satterfield?
Here.
Mr. Wertz?
I'm here.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Jane. For the invocation and pledge, Mr. Brian Reese, please.
All right, I invite you to join me if you would. Our Father, we come to you this evening grateful for another day of life and the privilege and opportunity to be in this city chamber halls tonight for this joint meeting between our city council and our school board. And I pray your blessings upon the meeting tonight. Be with both of these bodies, give them wisdom and guidance as they make decisions that affect our city and the next generation coming up within it. Thank you for the tireless work and effort of this school board, the administrators and the educators and all the various support staff, and just as they invest in and develop the next generation, as they partner with parents and guardians to do that. We pray your blessings upon them and upon the agenda of this meeting tonight. May you just grant, again, the wisdom needed to make great decisions for the future of our city and the students that are in our schools. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Amen. I invite you to join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Thank you, Brian. Looks like next on the agenda is new business, city council discussion for the Mayor's Youth Leadership Council. Mayor, okay, go right ahead.
Hello everyone, my name is Maggie Woods and I'm president of the Franklin Mayor Youth Leadership Council. So I know the council has talked to both the school board and the city council, but I'm just kind of here to remind you about the project we've been working on. We are working on putting a sculpture into the middle of the roundabout going in front of the high school. So kind of some things that we've been doing since I last talked to you. We had a meeting with Tri Kappa about fundraising, and our small arts committee was able to meet with Arlon Baisley to create the final design for the sculpture. So that's what it'll look like. It's going to be a tree and it'll have shapes cut out into it. And then the branches will kind of look like students or people reaching out towards them. So the symbols were kind of all created by our council to represent Franklin and our high school and just our community. So some things that we have coming up. In the beginning of May, Bomar will start to fabricate this. They'll be cutting out the metals and the designs, and they'll finish the fabrication at the end of May. And then the parts can be painted, which means by the beginning of summer and the roundabout's going in, that's when we will plan to install it along with the roundabout. Our council will be visiting Bomar on May 3rd to see the fabrication process. And then at our next mayor's meeting in May, we will be presenting to Duke Energy for fundraising. I'm gonna go ahead and have Arlon come up and kind of talk about some of the engineering that goes into the roundabout and the sculpture now. Thank you.
Maggie, it's Trent.
Trent, I'm so sorry, Trent.
Hi, Trent Newport with Crossroad Engineers. I am not a tree designer, so she had the name correct, and I think Arlen's going to be the one running the tour for them at Bomar. But we're actually doing the design of the roundabout. We've been working with Maggie and the council and the mayor's office, as well as Arlen, and kind of coordinating that effort. So I think it's going to be a really cool collaboration that they're doing for the centerpiece. What you're seeing here on the screen, and I've presented to both of these parties before, these are more detailed drawings of what the project's going to look like. North is up, so you can kind of see that the center of the roundabout's a little bit north of the center of the road, if you can kind of see that. And so we kind of had some green space up there, and the school was willing to donate some land to do that, to try to minimize the impacts on the south side to those farmlands. And so you can kind of see where that's centered. You see the islands what we call the splitter islands on all the sides, and then you see the center island, and the shaded part is the truck apron, and then the whiter part is the part where the sculpture will be, and there's going to be some lighting for it, some uplighting, so it'll look really cool at night as well. There'll also be lights around the roundabout to light it up. We typically light these intersections up better than they were before when we put a roundabout in. The rest is some drainage structures and so forth. That's the north end. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So that's just kind of the middle there is kind of the north where it transitions into going into the school. We will kind of do some asphalt, new asphalt, and then some mill and overlay as we take that. Right now, when you come in there, it almost feels like a T intersection that goes nowhere straight away. We're going to make that more of a natural curve. So we're not going to take away what's that T intersection, but we are going to make it more of a smoother transition and take away the stop sign that's there. So basically, it'll be just a curve going into the roundabout. And then the next one, this is just so you can kind of see the striping plan and see the connections, pedestrian connections around. So for future, we already have a path on that north side, and there will be a path connection around to the west side in case there's a future path going west. And then there are crossings coming to the south. There are no sidewalks or paths planned with this project going south on Simon, but we do know that some pedestrians walk up Simon. Unfortunately, this project had its limits as far as what we could do, but we did want to provide them a safe crossing once they get to the intersection, and that's what those two sides will be. And then you'd have something to build to in the future as well. So hopefully, if they are still walking up the side of Simon from the south, they can get off the edge right there into the grass at the intersection, and they can safely cross the intersection. I think that was actually a request of the school board. We did not have that in our budget and design, but the city agreed to fit that into the budget, so we adapted the design and added those. This is just kind of so you can see it. Picture it over top of the aerial that's there, and you can see the path connection and kind of see the whole thing. So the schedule for this project, you probably noticed that there was a little bit of work over spring break, some tree clearing and so forth, but really been waiting for school gets out. It's my understanding the last day is May 19th. So that next full week, which is actually the week before Memorial Day, we will start working on the project. We have a tight window to fit this in, and we want to get it done before school's back in. So that's still our schedule. Everybody's geared up, the contractor's on board. It's a contractor that's done a lot of work here in town and very comfortable with the work that they've done in the past on similar projects, other roundabouts. So we're confident that they can get it done in the summer months. Any questions for me?
I was going to ask Maggie. Maggie, is it 70 foot tall?
30.
The tree? 30 foot? Thank you.
I think I'm up here for the next agenda item potentially.
Are you? Okay, so looks like we have the construction update for the city of Franklin, which would be Mark Richards, the mayor, and yourself.
Construct the 31 project.
31?
Oh, I'm sorry, I got the 31 project, Crossroads Engineers, Trent Newport.
Okay, that's me. So yeah, I've actually presented on the 31 project to both of these boards as well, council and board, in the past. And so we did a very detailed presentation before with the large boards and everything. I just wanted to kind of give a quick update to say that we're still on schedule from what we'd been last presented, which is a letting through NDOT in the fall of this year. You'll start to see this year a lot of utility work along the corridor, and that'll continue all the way until next spring. And then we intend to see the meat of the work starting in the spring of '24. It's going to basically be from south to north, and it's unless the contractor tackles it a different way, we're envisioning it to be 4 years long because it is keeping traffic open like they did when they did the overlay just a couple years ago. So similar types of maintenance of traffic. The only difference to the phasing is that we are going to replace the Canary Ditch culvert in the very first phase. So they'll do some work there to move traffic around. Again, no closures of 31, but then they'll kind of start at the south end and move north, and they might even double that up in the beginning, depending on how the contractor tackles it. And again, we don't have a contractor on board until this fall. I did come to the school board and present for some right-of-way needs that we have, some slivers along where the middle school is at. We are still in the process of going back. I think what we determined at that board meeting a while back is that it was the wish to be offered the dollar amount for that value versus a donation. This is going through NDOT. So we went back, took that to NDOT. They said, that's fine, but we have been back through the process of doing appraising and everything since then. And so I expect here in the next, say, 30 to 60 days, there'd actually be an offer made. But it'd be those same documents that I presented before to Roger. It's just with an offer amount to it. So we'd come back and go through those motions. But I'd be happy to answer any questions. That's kind of the only updates that I have so far for the project.
Any questions for Trent?
Thank you.
Thanks, Trent. So now we're at the construction update for the city of Franklin, which is Mayor Barnett and Mr. Mark Richards.
Mark will start out.
Thank you, Mayor. For the record, my name is Mark Richards. I'm the city engineer for Franklin. One thing I wanted to add about the high school roundabout, the cost of the project is about $1.6 million. 1.3 of that is the roundabout construction itself, and 300,000 is the sculpture. So just wanted to let you know what's being spent on the project. You want to go to the second slide, Tara? This is another project that directly impacts the high school. This is a sanitary sewer interceptor project that was contract was awarded last fall in November. Critical dates for this project, at least from the school board's perspective, would be work within the high school will be performed during June 1st to September 29th. Any work that would impact access to the school with respect to this project would be done during the summer break for the school. The substantial completion date for the entire project, and you can see it starts at near the lift station on the south side of the high school property near Cumberland Drive. It runs along Cumberland Drive on either side of it up to Brannigan Road, and then runs along the north side of Brannigan Road over to a lift station at the northwest corner of the subdivision that you see there. That lift station that the cursor is at currently is going to be taken out of service, so it's going to be a gravity sewer down to the big lift station on the high school property, and then it will, in the interim, be pumped in the existing force main. Phase 2 of this project is going to be to extend the force main west along Commerce and then south cross country down to the vicinity of the one of the farms near the north edge of, or near the south side of Commerce. It will then convert to a gravity main, will flow all the way down to Bluffs at Youngs Creek subdivision, and then there will be a new lift station built there. We do everything we can to try and take lift stations out of service, but that's not always possible. So this is a project that's going to be longer term for phase 2 because of the cost. With the increase in construction costs recently, it's very difficult to fund this project. The final cost on phase 1 is about $2.3 million. We will be coordinating with the high school and the roundabout project as well for the sewer project. Cumberland Drive road improvements, we understand, are going to be done on the high school property. Football field renovations, access to the cross-country course. It has to remain open from August 1st to October 31st. And then during the summer, closure of Cumberland Drive for the crossing that you see just north of the creek can be no longer than 10 days. So we've been working with Mr. Sewell on this project for quite some time, and I think we've got our coordination down. Safety is obviously going to be a concern, I think, for you folks, and it's, for that reason, we have required that trenches have to be backfilled to a depth of no more than 4 feet below ground level, except where trench boxes are located, and then the trench has to be covered with plywood every day. So we're not going to have danger from open trenches that are of any significant depth. And the other thing that you may be interested in is you have several wetlands mitigation areas on the property. Those are being fenced and by a surveyor so that we prevent damage to some of those environmentally sensitive areas. And if you have any questions as I talk about any of these projects, just feel free to jump in. Next slide, please, Tara. Franklin does an annual paving project, and we were awarded $1 million from the state of Indiana for Community Crossings Grant. We've selected the streets that were going to be paved. There's a list of 27. It's a little hard to see. They're color-coded. They're shown on the citywide map, but there may be some that you'd be interested in. There's one near the high school on Brannigan Road. That project will again be coordinated with the sanitary sewer project. However, that's going to be a short-term work. Scroll down. Okay, it's the red line there. That's the section of Brannigan that will be paving, and that's probably going to take about 4 or 5 days, and it will not be closed. We'll keep it open to traffic. Our bid opening for the paving project is May 4th. Contract award will be on May 15th. We expect us to start work around June 1st, and then it would be completed by September 30th. And the estimated cost for this work is about $2.5 million. Want to go to the next one, Tara? Okay. City's working with a developer to do a public road extension. It's kind of highlighted in gray on the bottom of the screen and up the right side of the screen. North is to the right, and what you're seeing is the double 90-degree turns on Graham Road on the west or on the left side of the figure. Then when you follow Graham Road over to the north side on the right side of the figure, that's the Graham Road Earlywood Drive intersection. What we're doing is we're going to extend Graham Road north up to Earlywood Drive, and at the north end of the project, instead of teeing Graham Road into Earlywood, we're going to have a continuous curve and then tee Earlywood Drive into that curve. This project is currently scheduled for a May 31st bid opening, start date of July 5th, and completion date of around November 30th. Cost of that is estimated to be about $2 million. And I think that's all the figures I have right now. Did want to mention a couple of other projects that we're working on. East Jefferson Street has a sidewalk project where we're going to extend sidewalk on both the north and south sides of Jefferson from Forsyth out to Milford. There will also be connections between Jefferson up to King Street, along Milford, and along Middleton Street. That project has been on NDOT letting 2 times, and we've not been able to get any good bids. If the bids are more than 20% over the engineer's estimate, then the NDOT will not award it. It's prohibited by state statute. So we're going to try a 3rd time in October, and that would move construction to 2024. But this will provide some access, pedestrian access, and allow students to get to the schools up at Needham and Webb. So that's a good project from a pedestrian safety standpoint. And finally, we've got some projects on the schedule for next year that are in the, really in the vicinity of this project. At the intersection of Earlywood and Graham Road, we'll be building a roundabout. We will be building a roundabout at Paul Hand and Graham Road, and then we'll also be rebuilding Paul Hand Road from that roundabout over to the rail line. We have a project that looks like it may happen. It's not set in stone yet, but we're working on that. It's a development project on the southwest, basically southwest corner of Earlywood, or I'm sorry, Paul Hand and Graham. So that's something that's coming down the road. Construction of all three of those sites would be in 2024. We would build Earlywood and Graham roundabout in this, during the summer break of '24, and then the other projects would be later in the year. But we've had some conversations with Mr. Sewell, and again, they don't see this as being a problem. Actually, the conversation was with Mr. Dickinson, so, sorry, Jeff. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them, and if not, I think the mayor has a couple things he'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So good evening. I'm glad you're all here and we get to do this again, and I think it's real helpful for our community to see us doing this, so I appreciate that. I just want to add one thing to what Mark said, and I know I seen the look on some of your faces when it said NDOT will not allow us to put the bid out. The reason NDOT won't allow us to put the bid out, they gave us a grant. Well, so whenever you get the grants from the state, you follow by their rules. And one other thing on the sidewalk that I think is going to help the city is on help the schools. Harriet Street and Walnut Street, we're building a sidewalk and putting crosswalks in there where the kids walk to the middle school. Mark and I met with a gentleman today, a contractor, to take a look at that today. With that being said, thank you, Mark, for the updates. I know we're all interested in housing, so I want to just give a little update on the houses. Across the street here, the townhomes, Newkirk Square, Phase 1 is 12 units. Phase 2 will be 12 units with a 13,000 square feet retail space on South Main Street. Looking forward to getting that one started maybe later in the year. I know they want to get Phase 1 occupied sometime this summer. South Main Street condos, which is right across the street from the Bemis project, is also 12 units, 400 square feet of retail space. The price range for those townhomes is be 24 of them, $450,000 to $650,000. Then we have 4 subdivisions that's actually being under construction right now. Homesteads at Hillview, 66 lots. Kingsbridge, which is up on 31. If you notice, they haven't moved the equipment for a while. That's 240 lots. We look for them to get started in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Then we have Bluffs at Youngs Creek, which has been going on for quite some time. I think it was originally about 380 lots. I think we have 150 lots left there. And then we have West Wind at Cumberland. There's 125 lots. And the planning department was telling me they issued 5 building permits for that last week. And then we have 2 other subdivisions that are not started yet. Not sure what the status is, maybe later this year or maybe next year or maybe not at all until we see the groundbreaking is when we decide, okay, they're going to go to work. Winterfield up on Hurricane Road, 322 lots, and then Eagles Landing, 93 lots. I'm being told with Eagles Landing it probably is next year, and Winterfield, like I said, we don't really have a clue. They don't communicate real well, and about the time we think they're going away, they're back. So we do think there'll be something there at some point. And the price range for those subdivisions that's being built, the Ford right now is $275,000 to $650,000. Also, then we have apartments. I think we all have seen that happening. The Links is 160 units. Founders Point, which is on Upper Shelbyville Road, is 192 units. And just recently, we had Redwood development that is looking to put some apartments, flats across the street from Needham School, where the Commerce and Hurricane Road comes together. And then up on US 31, there is a talk about another apartment complex that is looking to come to the city. And then we also have Gateway Flats, which is out by McDonald's, which is 163 units. So those price ranges, it's all market rate. It's $1,600 to $2,200 a month is the price range that I'm hearing those are going at. And just for the record, the city does not go out and try to recruit apartment people to come to Franklin. We are at such a hot spot in the city of Franklin right now. I hope people realize everybody wants to be here. So we've actually had to fight off some apartments that want to be here. And so it's just a good time for the city. Hopefully that the timing of interest rates and supply chains and all that, it has slowed down the growth that we had. And like I've stated in before, we are going to cautiously stay on the gas to move Franklin forward. So with that being said, that's all I got. Do you have any questions on housing or? Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Next up on the list is Mr. Ken Koski with Festival Country.
Good evening. I just wanted to share a little bit about what Franklin is going to be doing for the eclipse, which is happening on April 8th, 2024. So it's less than a year away. If you want to put it on your calendars, it starts at 3:05 and 52 seconds. That's when you can safely look up without eclipse glasses. In the time preceding and after that total eclipse, you need the eclipse glasses. If you want to get a test run to scope out a good spot, around Labor Day, the sun will be in the same spot as it will be for the eclipse. So that's one thing. We've consulted with other areas that have had eclipses in the past few years, and one, Casper, Wyoming, had a $7.5 million economic impact just from the eclipse. So the mayor is talking about how everybody wants to come to Franklin. On that day, I assure you, they will all be here at once. So, what are we planning? So we've purchased 100,000 pair of eclipse glasses. We're going to be providing those free of charge to those that attend the events here, but also any groups that want to put on their own party. Let's say a church wants to do a fundraiser and open up their parking lot, or a school system. All you'll need is maybe a food truck, restrooms, and get with me and we'll get you some eclipse glasses. We're going to finalize the plans for the party that's happening in Franklin, but basically it's going to be Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It's going to be a collaboration between Festival Country, the Parks Department, which is experts at doing events in Discover Downtown Franklin, bringing in other partners like the university and the library and folks like that. So, and there's going to be events happening throughout the county, like a fly-in at the Indy Greenwood Airport. So a lot of stuff happening. How can you all benefit? I would recommend you go to Paris for those few days, rent your home for $3,000 a night, 5-night minimum. You can pay for the Paris trip. So that's my advice for you. And with that, if you want more information, go to eclipsefestival2024.com. That's where we're aggregating all the events that are happening. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So next up, we have Franklin Community School discussion, and I'm going to turn it over to Becky Wilson, the president of the school board.
Thank you.
Fall down in this mud. Crash.
Okay. First, on the superintendent's listing here is an update on Andreessen Hauser, your trip.
I'm going to be the first up. I'm going to invite Dr. Worland up. First, just want to thank everyone for coming out. We've been doing this for several years in collaboration. COVID kind of stopped some of that, but it is a pleasure to see how the two entities work together. Part of our strategic plan that we adopted right before COVID asked that we engage in a collaboration with global education. So we've been able to partner with several people Andrews Hauser being the most recent partner, to send our kids abroad and to do some things. We actually have had our kids go to Coogee back in 2015 and 16, and actually at 7 o'clock tonight, we're going to have a parent meeting for the kids to go back to Coogee in October for this coming fall break. And so it's a really exciting time for our kids to get to partner with kids at their age and also to see what it means to be kind of involved in economic impact here in Franklin. And so with that, Dr. Worland chaperoned 14 students and several adults on a trip to Germany, Switzerland, France. And they're here to tell us a little bit about their story. And I do apologize, I do have to leave to kind of chair the other meeting, but thank you very much for hosting us tonight.
And I will start as the students come forward. A number of them are going to participate in the presentation. There are 14 with us. All 14 are here this evening, and I will let Andre do the introductions. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the school board. Thank you to Dr. Clendenning and to the staff at the school. Thank you to Nicole Addy and her team at Andrews Hauser in Greenwood. Thank you also to our colleagues in Europe. We met many through our journeys. And thank you to Kelly Schmidt, she's back here, Kelly wave, and Franklin Education Foundation, as they helped offset some of the costs of the trip. So just thank you. And to parents, there are a number of parents and grandparents and supporters in the audience. So thank you so much for trusting us with your students. Here we go.
All right, hi everyone. We just want to say that we hope you enjoy our presentation about the Andrews Hauser Student International Experience. I am Andre, and these are my fellow students.
Hi, I'm Marnie Moore, and I'll be speaking about some of the experiences we'd never done before. Some of those include traveling on high-speed trains. 71.4% of us had never done that before. Half of us had never traveled without family. Again, 71.4% have never traveled in a country where we didn't know the native language, and 57.1% of us has never exchanged money before.
Hi, I'm Noah Woods, and adding on to what Marnie said, we had a lot of unique experiences with a variety of different new types of transportation, including planes, railways, buses, boats, and metros, because the United States is really a car-centric country, and it was interesting to see different modes of transportation in Europe, and I think I watched almost every person get hit by a bicycle at some point, so that was entertaining. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Keegan Turner McQuinn, and with all of this travel, you really get to know each other really well when you're sitting on a bus for hours on end in standstill traffic. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Luke Bromley, and one of the biggest changes that we had to face was the different culture in the European countries we visited. While there were many similarities to the US, one of the most striking changes were the different languages and foods our students encountered. Additionally, many Europeans like to savor their meals much more than the US, often lasting 2 to 3 hours a meal. Their education system prioritized proper media usage and was much more open to student creativity and had a lot less competition in sports. And in Germany, we found that carbonated water was actually much more popular than regular. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Benjamin Moreland, and so my favorite part is food. So we got to experience many different foods on our trip, one of which was gelato, which was pretty big with people. There's actually a picture of gelato with a macaron on it. But we regularly did gelato runs, and there was all sorts of other foods that we also got to try.
Hi, I am Derek Moot, and I will be talking about our Andrews Hauser visit. So that picture is of us in front of Andrews Hauser in Rheinach, Switzerland. And so a few topics were that each facility manufactured different products, but still had the same overall goal of the company of making quality products for their customers. The time and effort put into the production process was truly amazing. Getting all the materials, the welding and assembly, all the electronic components, the calibration to make sure that the product does exactly what it's supposed to do, the packaging, the shipping, and we got to see a lot of that. The workplace organization and efficiency. In Greenwood, Reinach, Cernay, and Malberg, it has always been very clean, very organized, and very efficient, and it's always been very safe. And it is a global company with many different locations and exchanging of nationalities. We met several different people throughout our trip, and I also know I have a friend of the family who is from Germany who works in ENH in Greenwood. And we also have a friend of the family who I got to meet in Switzerland who used to live here but moved over there. So I think that's really cool. And ENH is big on taking care of the employees. I've never met a single person at their company who has not expressed how much of a joy it is to work with them, how good they feel while working there. And they take care of their employees, and that quote is from one of our students on the trip. The business model is made up of investing in their staff, so the staff would invest back into the company. And these are a few pictures from our visit at Reinach, Switzerland, the world headquarters. On the bottom left, that is a picture of our class learning about the Natillion Cloud, which is a program used to remotely view and monitor their devices at any time and to see any issues or problems it has with it. And the other pictures of our time are just having a good time, I guess. That is our visit at Cernay, France. We had to get some steel-toed shoes to walk through their production facility. And our very nice guide for the day, Patrice, we got a picture with him. And a few pictures from our last ENH visit in Malberg, Germany. Jans Kruger was the man who spoke with us and gave us tours for most of the day. And the middle picture is, there were quite a few fun games that we got to play that some of the apprentices at their locations built as well, where we got to see who could pass a ring through a wire the fastest, and a picture in front of the building. And to finish off our time in the Malberg location, we got to build a ultrasound distance meter where we got to solder on electronic components and create a distance meter to measure to bounce sound off of objects to see how far something is from you. So that was really fun. Thank you very much.
And on the more touristy side of everything, we have our excursions. We went many different places, such as Paris, France. We saw the Louvre and the Eiffel Tower. If you could click to the next slide, there you go. That was very fun, and Arc, and we walked around. I think some of us got some crepes and we ate them in front of the Eiffel Tower. That was very fun. And then next we went to Strasbourg. Wait, no, sorry, my bad. We went to the Lindt Chocolate Factory, home of the famous Lindt Chocolate Bunny and the world's largest free-falling chocolate fountain. And we went on a tour and saw that process, and we got free chocolate, so I consider it a win. Next, we went to Baden-Baden, Germany. Very, very Instagram and pretty site with trees and pretty buildings and a very magnificent view, as you can see in the bottom left corner. Then we went to Strasbourg, France, where we saw the European Parliament and many churches. We went on a panoramic boat tour around one of the harbors, and that was very nice and scenic. And then we went to the Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany, built in the 1800s. That was very fun, and as you can see, one of us got a princess hat, so that was great. And then finally, when we went to the Dachau concentration camp and downtown Munich, where we saw a church and we saw the Michael Jackson Memorial. And I feel like a lot of us were very touched by the Dachau experience and to see all that for our own eyes. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
My name's Willa Thomas. I'll be going over the high school experience. Some things we observed were the variations within our schedules. Some of the students there would get 20-minute breaks in between classes, and then the next is how similar we actually all are to each other. And then the differences between the class structures. And then how much most of the students rode their bikes to school because they do not get their license until they're 18. And the variety of classes were very different there. For example, English didn't even count as a foreign language class. It was just a regular class they took.
Hi, I'm Samantha Straight. We talked to the German students a lot, and I feel like a lot of us made really good friends with them. One of the quotes from a German student is, "It's interesting to learn from the Americans about the cultural differences in living standards, and I can confidently say that we feel the same way." It was really nice to talk to new people, and I know a few of us definitely still keep in contact. And it was really nice to compare our cultures and our countries, and some of them have 15 classes, and their school structures are so different and interesting. It was really fun to learn about and talk to them personally, and I was highlight of my trip. Thanks.
Hello, my name's Lily Christakos, and we learned a lot of lessons on this trip. We learned how to take responsibility for our own belongings, schedules, sleeping schedules, everything. We learned how to communicate with not only each other, but we learned how to communicate with other people in a completely different language. It was lots of fun. We learned how to navigate our way through cities and different areas in Germany, Switzerland, and France. And overall, I think it was lots of fun.
Can we go back? Okay, thank you. Additionally, we had to learn to cooperate with each other more due to our close proximity. And we often had to learn how to push ourselves out of our comfort zone in order to learn of the wider world and develop ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to, go to Europe in general. It was really amazing. I think it's safe to say we all really appreciated this trip. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Next on the agenda is an athletic update. Bill, is that you?
Good luck following that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're done.
Mr. Doty, you're going to feel like Mrs. Gross right now.
Yeah, I really appreciate you all putting me here in this spot on the agenda. Thank you so much. Well, I will do my best to be brief, but I do want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity. If we could go back just that cover slide, just the opportunity to talk a little bit about our athletics, highlight some achievements. I would call your attention to our website, gogrizzlycubs.com. That's where you can find access to our schedules, some game results, things like that, highlight stories there as well. And it also, anything posted on our website also hits our Twitter feed. So those would be there as well. So next slide, just some pictures for you. These are really some storylines throughout the year so far, fall and winter sports. obviously being wrapped up. Spring season sports we're right in the middle of that. But just kind of taking from the left-hand side and working across, you see our girls basketball team, 3 years in a row being sectional champions. There underneath them is the All-State golfer Lexi Ray. She was also named on the watch list for the Indy Star Athlete of the Year, along with Riley Wilkinson, who you see there on the very far right, tennis player, and then Max Clark. They were recently at the Indy Star Sports Awards, where Max was named the Athlete of the Year for the state of Indiana. So impressive stuff there. Bo Baker was just named to the football North-South All-Star Game. He'll participate in that this summer. There in the middle, right underneath the 2022-23 storylines, is our unified flag football team. We just started that program. Mike Leonard, a lot of you know who Mike Leonard is, former Franklin College football coach. He is the leader of that program, just started up. They were sectional champs this year. So he's done a wonderful job of getting that program off its feet and running. Underneath that is Micah Davis. He was named Indiana Junior All-Star this year to the core team. So if he has another good year, we really expect him to be an Indiana All-Star there as well. And then in the top right-hand corner, you see our girls cross-country team. This was the 4th year in a row that they were sectional champions, regional, semi-state qualifiers. So a lot of good individual achievements there for our kids, and you can go on to the next slide. This just brings up our mid-state conference standings from the team aspect of it. There you see our girls are 1 point behind Plainfield in the all sports trophy standings. The boys are leading, and this is after fall and winter sports. Obviously, see, the spring's not added in there yet, and we are leading in the combined. Our girls won the all sports trophy 2 years ago. Our boys won it last year, so we're hoping this is the third year. Third year's the charm, and we'll win both and win the combined. So one thing I would point out about the Mid-State Conference with those schools that you see in there, we also have an award for our student athletes. It's the Scholar Athlete Award, and those recipients achieve a 3.5 GPA or higher. We have, so far, between the fall and winter, we have 60 student athletes that have achieved that standard, which I think is very impressive given it only goes to senior student athletes. We've had many more all-conference, all-county selections, but these athletes, they're also extremely competitive in the classroom. Our average GPA for our student athletes is 3.3. Another example of being competitive in the classroom is our boys soccer team. For 2 years in a row have won the team academic award from the Coaches Association, which means they have a team GPA of 3.5 or higher, which is really good work on their part, given the number of guys on that team. So just really kudos to them. We can go to the next slide. Just in the future, you hear a lot of talk about, you'll hear the words education-based athletics, and that's really us at the school level. This is not club, and there's nothing wrong with club, but education-based athletics has its place, and we need to ensure that it stays true to that. And one of those things that we do, and it's education-based athletics, not just because there's academic standards to be able to participate, but also we're learning life lessons through sport and through participating. One of those new initiatives that you'll see next year is the Champions 101 program that we're going to be initiating. Champions 101 is a curriculum. It was developed by a guy named Travis Doherty. He used to be the basketball coach at Mount Vernon. He is a classroom teacher, English teacher, and he's created all this curriculum that we will then share with our student athletes. There'll be some requirements for them to participate before they can actually participate in their sport. There'll be some requirements of parents to go along with this. I see Mr. Taylor nodding along with and grinning. So you'll be able to participate in this as well, Sean. So the Champions 101, it's really a sports performance and leadership development program for the students, parents, and coaches alike. It's really a shift in the focus of creating that reason and why are we playing sports, right? We know the goal is to win. That's why we keep score on a scoreboard. But what's our purpose? And it's really a shift in that focus to a bigger purpose and life lessons and sharing those. So that's really, it's going to take a deeper dive. We're excited about that Champions 101. IHSAA reclassification proposal, that's been on the docket for the IHSAA. It really doesn't impact you all. It's just a matter of our class system 1 through 4 in all sports other than football. There's 6 classes in football. The proposal is to have an enrollment, designated enrollment lines for each of those classes. Right now, it is based, they try to put even numbers of schools in each class. Moving forward, if this proposal goes through, it would be based on enrollment. And then that enrollment, we're a 4A school in all other sports other than football, and so it would be 1,400 kids enrolled in your high school. You would be 4A and up. So doesn't really change anything for us, but if you see that in the news, that's really what it's about. Something else that we have just started this year, we got it late to it, so that's why I put it on for the future. You'll hear us talk a lot about velocity-based training in our weight room. And that is, and again, Mr. Taylor's probably well aware of this. So we have these devices. It's a sensor. It's attached to a bar. If you're going to squat or bench press, whatever it may be, it's attached to the bar. There's the receiver is plugged into an iPad, and it gives readouts to those students of what obviously the weight is, but then the speed at which they push it, or if they're in a squat, that speed, and also the deflection of that bar, the bar path. So it really hones in on the athlete being efficient in their movement. So it's a big thing. It's where everybody's going in the weight room. So, and then lastly, just some facility improvements. Along those lines, I think you all heard the discussion about our football field. We are getting new turf this year, so that will happen over the summer as soon as the regional track meet that we host. As soon as that's over, they're going to hop on the football field. I know Mr. Sewell's been heavily involved in that, and we're appreciative of that. That's time for new turf. And then the other facility, I think tennis courts at the high school will be resurfaced as well. So those things are upcoming. So, oh, one other item that's not on there. Wanted to mention, the Johnson County Athletic Directors Association is bringing back the Scholar Athlete of the Year Award for male and female. It went away back in 2014, but we thought it was really something we wanted to do. It's actually, the banquet will be here at the Garment Factory on June 6th. JMH is partnering with us. They're sponsoring the night, which it's great for our student athletes, and it's really, as I said, it's a Scholar Athlete Award. It's not just for their physical achievements, but also their achievements in the classroom. So you'll hear more about that later on this year. I'll open it up to any questions. Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is a school resource officer update. That you, Jeff?
Good evening. It's good to be back with you again this year to highlight probably one of the most tangible programs that show partnership with our school corporation, our city, and our Johnson County Sheriff. And so we had the good fortune this year to be able to add 2 more SROs to our team to bring our total number to 6. So that is 4 of those that are employed by the school corporation and that serve under the supervision and oversight of the Johnson County Sheriff. And then Mayor Barnett and Kirby Cochran and his team provide an additional 2 officers. So we have 6 of our school buildings covered. 4 of those, or 3 of those full-time, and then we kind of divide time with the other 3 to make sure we have a good presence. Obviously, that's important from the standpoint of providing just the patrol car there in front of the school is a good deterrent. Having that immediate response there available in the case that something bad happens. But the place that our SROs really spend the vast majority of their time is trying to be relational with kids, and having a good relationship, being a role model, and having a good relationship with kids, putting them at ease with law enforcement, and helping them to have that security and that their school is a safe place. So I want to reiterate to Mayor Barnett and Kirby Cochran and his team that we appreciate their partnership in that. We've had some bumps along the way, especially the last couple of weeks, and so we're working on improving our awareness of our processes and our communication channels. And so we've got some time we're going to spend here real soon on debriefing some of that. And but we do appreciate your partnership, and we look forward to continue to carry that forward. Be glad to take any questions.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next is a Cub Care report.
Hello, I'm Natalie Falor. I'm the Executive Director of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Johnson County. Dr. C reminded me I have 5 minutes, but he left, so you guys are going to keep me on. For those of you that know me, know that we're going to go. So we took over Cub Care. If you remember, a year ago right now, I came and presented to you all our proposal to take over Cub Care from the school system, and we are almost at our first full year, and it's been a year. We have learned a lot. Overall, it's been a really smooth transition. I think we can say, between our partnership that we already had with the school system was already amazing, and so it really was a pretty smooth transition. We already had relationships built in the buildings. So the principals knew us, the counselors knew us, a lot of the kids know us, obviously, and so that transition was really smooth, and that has a lot to do with our wonderful partnership that we already have had. We really appreciate the staff at the schools, from the custodians to the teachers, to everyone in between who has helped and helped us with kiddos and helped us with building processes and alarms that may have gone off at 5:45 in the morning at a couple buildings here and there. It happens, but we could not have done it without the great partnership that we have. So kids served. So we have served 405 families this year. We have 405 families registered over the 6 buildings that we serve. That's 521 students. Our average daily attendance, what we call ADA, was 63 before school and 238 after. And that's a little up from their numbers last year, a little lower than what we thought. Frankly, part of that is staffing, our staffing, and we'll talk about that here in a second. We had 118 students who qualified for free and reduced lunch, which means that they paid that lower rate, and 8 students were paid through the McKinney-Vento funds as well. Through the end of March, we had 14,110 daily visits to the Cub Care program. So they're coming. There's a bunch of them. Our staffing, and at this meeting last year, we had not made the final decision on how we were going to oversee Cub Care. I said to all of you that we were going to hire a full-time director, and that was a commitment that we made. Well, we went to our internal staff and transitioned Susan Som, who's here with us today. A lot of you know Susan. If you don't, go ask your kids. Even if they're adults, they know Susan. She's been with the Boys and Girls Clubs since 1997. So when we knew we were taking this on and we were getting to the end of it, I sat down with her and said, listen, I think we should do this, and I think it's great, but I can't do this unless you agree to do it. Susan, we say she bleeds blue. She is the Boys and Girls Club. She knows us. She's passionate about it, and we knew that we were not going to be successful without her at the helm. And so we were very, very thankful for that. We have 6 buildings. We've had 9 site leaders, and we've had some turnover. We were blessed that we did absorb a lot of the Cub Care staff. We gave that opportunity for them to just transition directly over. They did not have to re-interview. If the school system trusted them, then we were trusting them. And the majority of them did. We had a few, once we got going, who decided that working for a school and working for a nonprofit are not the same thing, and it wasn't for them, and that's okay. We have 35 staff through our 6 sites that we utilize. Again, partnerships, and we are a city and a community and a school system of partnerships, and we already have a wonderful relationship with Franklin College, and that benefit of that partnership really helped us in staffing as well and pulling some more staff for the college. Also, the shared role of utilizing the staff that we already had in our building as well, and I know that was a struggle in the past because of time and how school and being paid, we have that benefit that they can work both, and we have students. We have college kids who are athletes and love to work for us, but during season they can't. So guess what? They can open though, and we've got 4 or 5 of them that go and they do before care because it fits their schedule, gets them a little bit of money, and we know we've got a good, trained, responsible staff. Training program is something that we are very, we try to overdo when you can never overdo. Every employee goes through about a 2.5, 3 hour orientation with us. We do monthly all staff meetings. We have 55 total staff now, which is amazing for us. And every month they come and they train on specific topics. Here recently, which we're going to talk about the why of this in a moment, every single one of our staff have gone through the Boys and Girls Clubs of America evidence-based trauma training. That is how, as a staff, a youth development professional, which is what we call our staff, do you work and interact with students who may have experienced trauma, and how trauma can affect how they absorb information, how they take aggression, how they may be aggressive, or how they may have emotions, and how to deal with that. If you can go to the next slide. So with that, goals in the future and kind of going off of that trauma training, we ran this. We had a year contract to start to figure out what we were doing. So because of that, we ran Cub Care as outreach sites for us. So as I would think most of you in the room know, Boys and Girls Club, we are a membership organization. We are a member affiliate organization of Boys and Girls Clubs of America. So we charter as a membership organization. And so we are now in the process of chartering all 6 sites. So we will go from having the Franklin Clubhouse to now having 7 clubhouses. They'll be called units versus clubhouses, but that's what they are. With that process, and the Boys and Girls Club of America, again, being the organization that they are, part of our chartering is we have to go through safety assessments. I spoke about this last year. Every year we have assessors come out to do safety assessments of our building and our processes and our policies and procedures. So we have to do a beginning safety assessment, and that will actually be done this week at all the schools on Wednesday and Thursday. The Boys and Girls Club of America staff is coming in from Atlanta, and myself and Susan will take them around to do those. Jeff and Tina have been involved and looked through the paperwork of that. It's nothing we don't do, right? And when I send it out to the building principals and I send them, here's the assessment, it's a 4-page document, we do it all. It's nothing overarching. Again, it's just that covering the bases so Boys and Girls Club of America can say, yes, when we put the blue hands on, they know for themselves and insurance and quality that we're all doing the same thing. As we continue, again, this year we wanted to get in and figure out how the sites ran. We didn't want to come in like we're the new kids in town and everything that's done is wrong and we're changing it all. We didn't really change a lot, but we do know that as a Boys and Girls Club, we are not a daycare. We are here to provide high-quality programming to the youth of our community to help them become better citizens. And so as we are chartering these sites, and our goal going into next year is we are going to bring programming to the sites, which we have not done this year. Some of the programs is Indiana Kids, which is the state-funded tutoring program. Within Indiana Kids, we actually have a new opportunity that I'm working on right now through Mind Trust. If you're familiar with Mind Trust, they have a pot of money to disseminate into tutoring for kids. So we're going to be able to use that and do that at all 7 of our sites next year, as well as Smart Decisions, which is a program that we do that is drug and alcohol prevention, and a slew of other programs that I will keep rambling about if I keep going. We are hiring. Actually, I have 3 listed. I'm currently taking applications. We are hiring 3 full-time staff here in the next 6 months. Right now, I'm looking for a resource development officer to help with fundraising, to help with all this new fun stuff we're doing. We also are always looking for part-time youth development professionals. We know we need more staff. We always need more staff. We'll always need more staff. We're no different than any other small business or large business for that matter. We are going to hire a full-time program director that company or organization wide will focus their time on developing the execution of these programs to make sure that we're getting and we're doing everything that we can to get these programs delivered. And then an administrative assistant, because I need help getting organized. We all do. We want to serve more kids. We were really happy with our numbers this year at the clubhouse and in Cub Care, but we want to keep serving more. With that, the Lilly Grants, the last thing I want to mention, we were part of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Indiana. There's 31 clubs in the state of Indiana. We all collectively went to Lilly Endowment 2 years ago and were awarded as a state $31 million. It's the largest grant they've ever given to youth serving organizations. Our opportunity that we have over the next 2 years of that $31 million is to get $1 million to put into the kids of our county. That has some matching components to it. Part of that, though, is to help us infuse in Cub Care, and there's a specific line item of money that is for Cub Care that will be used to help enhance the staff we have, get new staff, get new things and programs and bring all of that to it. So we're really excited. It's the largest grant gift that the Boys and Girls Club of Franklin and Johnson County have ever received. So that was a really exciting thing for us. So how'd I do? Questions? I know I talked really fast, but you guys can tell them I did it, I think. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Exciting things happening. Are there any public comments on the discussion items?
Guess not.
No? Okay.
Did you want to speak, ma'am?
How did you know that I always?
Well, she asked if you wanted to
Public
speak.
comments?
I know, but usually I speak at the end, but I can come up now and, say some things. Oh, I'm sorry, Will. No.
Is this,
For the next one.
is this about something that, a discussion item?
Well, no, I guess not.
She just wants to speak at the end of the meeting.
Okay. We'll call you up at the end.
I'll do the end.
Okay. No, that's okay.
Be quick, Bart.
All right. Brooke, you're going to do the Franklin Community School action items, public comments, the resolution.
Yes, the first item under action items is mine. It's the resolution we presented at the last board meeting with regards to flexibility. This application would be permission from the state board to add flexibility to how we measure time at the secondary level. There's no guarantee that it will be approved, but we're asking the board's permission to submit the waiver, the application for the waiver. There have been no changes since the last meeting.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Need a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that one passes. Next is the resolution authorizing conveyance of real estate.
Yes, you'll recall, the city has is trying to make a connection to a sidewalk there on Commerce and 31. And so this would just go ahead and execute and donate that small, very small piece of property to them for that purpose. 0.004 acre, if I remember right.
We'll move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that one passes. And Mr. Sewell, are you doing the hardscapes repair contract also?
Yes. Sorry to trouble you with this in this meeting. This contractor was on a short timeline. If I wanted to squeeze him into our schedule, I needed to get it in today and take advantage of this meeting. So I appreciate your patience with that. We went through a bid process. The bid tabulation is there. This is involving paving and sidewalk maintenance at all of our schools, except for, I don't think there was anything at Union this time. So recommending this is one of the projects that we've seen on our bond project list. So it's been kind of well advertised as something that was coming up, and would just recommend your approval of that contract.
Okay, any questions? Okay,
Move to approve.
Second.
okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes.
Mrs. Nelson, could I make one more comment about the SRO program?
Yes.
I'm sorry to move backwards in the agenda. One of our commitments in our MOU is to seek funding to help the city with their expenses, and I forgot to report on that. So this past year, we applied for this secured school safety grant, and this was the first year we were awarded the maximum amount of that grant of $200,000. We were able to designate $30,000 of that for the city. So that's a kind of a drop in the bucket, but a good-sized drop in the bucket. And we are optimistic that the state is going to expand the funding for that program in the coming year. So we hope to keep pushing that number up for you and help you with your expenses on that program. So thank you again for your partnership.
Thank you. Any other business? Any public comments? Yes. You're up.
Well, this is the third year I've crashed the party. My name is Barb Jankowski. I'm also known as the grandmother of Webb and also as Mimi of Mimi's Mission. I've spoken to the school board and to the city council about the goal to raise money for school supplies. We've been able to supply Webb. This year I got a letter that said, "Dear Grandma Barb, I don't know you, but thank you for the school supplies. If my mom or dad bought me school supplies, then we would have to make more money for rent." You know, that's one of the reasons why I do this. And then I had another one from my friend who said, "I thank you for the school supplies. I can now go get my Vans, the shoes." So, you know, you see all sides of the spectrums. But Mimi's Mission has also branched out from just school supplies. Ryan Wagner, former board member, has done all the legal paperwork to create a 501c3 for Mimi's Mission. So we're just waiting for that to come back from the feds so we can start begging for money from people that will want to give it to us because they can get a tax donation. But we're also, other than school supplies, we're also branching out. We're looking at period poverty. We're looking at getting donations for tampons and pads for young women in our schools. It's real. We're getting earbuds and headphones for those students that their electronics break. We know it happens, and their parents just don't have money. We've provided sweatpants and leggings for students that maybe have accidents at school, or they might not come with the proper pants to wear at school. We're now actively looking for athletic tennis shoes for students that don't have the right shoes for PE classes. And the other thing that we're looking at is lunch fees. Our balance sheets for lunches, we're in the negative. It was in the high four figures. So, you know, one thing that I want to do is figure out how we can fix this. And I've talked to everybody for 2 meetings about how do I reach people in our federal government to have the USDA continue to pay for student lunches as they did during the pandemic. You know, the only person that's ever gotten back to me is Andre Carson, a Democrat from the city of Indianapolis. And he said, "Well, I'll look into it." You know, I'm not a mover and shaker. I don't know people in government. Like y'all, you probably have some cronies in the Republican Party, right? Or the Democratic Party, right? That, you know, put me in touch with them. I want to plead the case that our kids deserve, and their parents deserve, money to eat at school, My dad was an educator, and he always said to us, you can't go to school hungry and learn. You know? And our kids go to school hungry. And there are seniors at the high school that will not take the free lunch because they don't want their parents to have to worry about paying back that debt. So they'll go hungry, and that's sad. So if any of the movers and shakers in this room can get me in touch with somebody, please. And hopefully next year I can come to this meeting and we can have some nice pretty slides, because we have set up an area in the middle school with a supply room that the schools do reach out to get supplies for their classrooms. So again, I'm Barb Jankowski, and thank you for allowing me to extend your meeting another 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Dr. Clendenning, again, is sorry that he had to leave, but he wanted to ensure that I said thank you again. Thank you for this collaboration, this opportunity to work together, the many partnerships that are happening between the City of Franklin and Franklin Community Schools. Just thank you all so very much.
Okay, any board comments? All right. We will move for adjournment. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go.